Welcome back to episode 7 of the podcast. Myself and Chloe are here again with another episode. And this one is one that many of you have probably experienced. Maybe you've had some positive experiences, maybe some negative, and we're the same. So what we're going to talk about today, Chloe?
Is it a good SENCO versus not so good SENCO?
Yes,
But we
absolutely.
do want to say we're not bashing SENCOs. It's not, oh, we hate SENCOs because there are some absolutely amazing ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of us as SEN parents have had some not so great experiences as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And
And
it does need speaking about.
yeah, and even going on from that, like when we're discussing situations, even with teachers or professionals or other things, that does not mean that everybody is the
Oh,
same. Like if I think back to, I remember seeing recently, quite kind of like a bit of a seesaw effect, I'm going to call it, a to and from positive and negative, about a setting with a child where some parents had had an incredible experience and some had had a really negative experience. The two can exist together. Okay. And it's,
on what your knowledge
yeah,
is of
it is.
your experiences as a Senko
Yeah.
and
And
all
also
that
with
other stuff.
parents, like
Yeah.
parents, there can be some negative things and there can be some positive. It's what makes the world go round. It's part and parcel of everything we do. So I just wanted to put that out there, first of all. So the question is it supportive? So the Senko that you've had, are they supportive or are they not? Now, I'm going to start this with a bit of a kind of like a story. So we've had many conversations with parents where parents we're parents anyway, so we've had our own experiences and things like that. Now, in my experience, and this is my experience, I have had some great conversations and I've had some very unhelpful conversations. I have spoken to some professionals, like I said, not even just Senkos, that have openly admitted they do not understand neurodiversity, neurodivergence, and that's absolutely fine. And me and Chloe talk about this a lot. We're here for that. We're here for people not knowing and not understanding. Like we don't know what we don't know. But I think the biggest problem is when you're in a role and even though you don't understand, you're kind of putting yourself as that professional and this is the way it is. I cannot deal with that. What about you,
If you're
Chloe?
willing to learn, I've got all the time in the day for you. But if you're not, because you know everything and
Yeah.
you're the professional, I don't wash.
Yeah. I just can't do it. So, one of the conversations I remember having was getting support with my child. So, when I first, well, I knew for a very long time my child was autistic, but trying to kind of come together as a partnership to work with members of staff to say these are my concerns. And the biggest thing, and it boils my blood, is when they say, well, we don't get that here. We're not seeing that here. That's not our experience. Because that sentence or those sentences kind of just diminish everything a parent.
Really invalidating,
It's
and
so invalidating because you're basically saying, you might as well say, that's a you problem.
yeah, are you sure?
Yeah, not seeing that here.
Sounds
And
like a parenting issue.
yeah, sounds
Yeah.
like a you problem. And that's what you're basically saying. And let me tell you now, for someone, especially a parent, to come forth and say, my child's struggling, or we're struggling with my child, and just being like met with that is no, it's not. It's not good.
Oh, it's a brick wall.
It is.
I think in the SEN system, it's so complex and every door is closed that can possibly be closed before you get an inch of support.
Mm,
When you're tr really trying with school and you think, oh, well, that teacher's really nice. You know, they're a really nice teacher. They're quite nice in class. We've had some lovely conversations. They're friendly. And then you're met with that. It's why do I bother?
yeah,
What do I do?
definitely.
You're at the bottom of the hole then, aren't you? And
Yeah,
you're climbing back up because every door has been closed.
yeah.
That and they always say go to your school, speak to school.
Mm.
But then if they're shutting you down, where'd you go?
Yeah, definitely. You come to us. You come to us. And yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. So I've had many conversations, like I've said, where parents have said, well, I've gone to this, I've gone to the SENCO and they've said this or they've said this. And it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. It's not the right advice, if I'm honest. And what that gives to me is you don't understand. You don't understand. So the amount of conversations that I've had where I've said my child's masking and people don't even know what a masking is, that's a problem.
It really frustrates me, and I've had this personally, and I've spoke to other parents where you'll explain what they're like at home or the effects of as soon as the school day is finished, what your child's doing and how it's affecting them. And obviously, it's a negative impact on your child. So you're
Yeah.
trying to understand and meet need and things like that. And they're like, oh, well, we're not getting that. We don't see that child in school. I'm like, yeah, because they're masking. And then it's like, oh yeah, they did maths really well. No, it's not positive.
Yeah, it's
No
not.
child should ever be masking. We don't strive for masking.
Yeah.
Masking has a serious negative impact on mental health and physical well-being.
Mm.
It deteriorates a child and
Yeah.
it's burnout city. And to get a child back from burnout can take weeks, months, years.
Yeah.
It's such a process. And why would you want that child to feel like that? We don't strive for a child to mask. It's exhausting.
Yeah. And that's it. And they're the conversations that then make me think, and I'm saying this, am I saying this with love? I'm just being honest, that you're not in the right role, or you need to have, you need to understand, like, if I'm, and I always come back to this because I always try and put myself in the shoes of somebody else. And I'm going to say it, like, if I'm working in a school as a SENCO and I don't understand something, I'm going to be honest and say, I don't understand that, but you bet I'll go and learn it. You bet I will use my time to go and learn it. Because I want to know if I'm in this job and I'm doing this role and it's impacting kids, because that's the biggest thing for me, and it's impacting those kids and I don't understand it, how can I have a conversation? How can I point someone in the right direction or give them advice if I don't get it?
That summed up the divide, though.
Yeah.
You either want to learn and strive to help, and
Yeah.
you're in the right vocation, or you're not, you're just doing a job.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's where all
True.
the issues come from.
Yeah. And that is a mindset. That is a mindset, isn't it? And I guess I see this in, like I said, it's not just in terms of SENCOs. You see it in caring, like in schools or in nurseries or in looking after the elderly and things like that. You can tell the difference between people that want to be there and people who are just doing it. Yeah, get that. So yeah, so that's the biggest thing. And like I said, like even some of the advice, like, and I'm going to say this again. So I was speaking to a parent, and again, I'll never disclose names, information, or anything like that. Obviously, that's not what we do. But basically, their child were really struggling. Now, their child had a diagnosis, their child had an EHCP, their child had a plan in place and everything else. And there were certain things that their child wouldn't do. So in terms of speaking, so they wouldn't speak when they were obviously feeling triggered and things like that. They would go quiet. And for then a professional to be saying to them, use your words, when that child's issue is when things go wrong, they just close up. Like that, what? Like that again shows me you don't understand. Either you don't understand it, either you're just plain ignorant, or you, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, don't care.
Working off the script.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things that really a lot of parents are getting. It's that pushback instantly. And it's just not good enough. It's not good enough.
I think the issue is as well, to be a SENCO, you've got to have a qualified teacher status.
Yeah.
You've got to be a qualified teacher. So normally you'll promote a teacher anyway into the SENCO role, and some of them teach alongside that role. Some of them just do the role on its own, so they've got more time, more resources, all that sort of thing. And some do like a job share with it. But then the training to become a SENCO can range from a half-day course to quite an in-depth training. And then that's up to the school to keep the CPD going. So it's like, right, well, we'll send you on this one, which will start us off, but then the plan is we're going to send you on a full day course of this and a week's course of this and an online training course of this. So you keep getting the knowledge and the expertise in that area. And that comes with funding. That comes with whether the person job shares or has the role on its own. I get that. There's practical problems with it. But to have a half a day course and become a SENCO, to be responsible for all the SEN children in a primary or secondary school is scary. With one of my bosses, I used to do SENCO support. That was one of my roles. So I'd go into schools and I'd do a lot of SENCO support, be like, right, how can I help? And we'd work together. And some were lovely, some you thought, oh. And then, I mean, I've had a couple of arguments and have asked me not to go back to a couple of schools because I just thought there's they'll accept children, but it's very, 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 very clear they are purposely blocking that child from progressing, from meeting need, so they can escalate it to the local authority so they can so they can permanently exclude that child so they are no longer their problem. And that did not sit right with me at all. And that's where I'd be like, absolutely not on my watch. And that's where we'd have the issues. But I used to say to my boss, they'd be like, oh, how was that new school? How was the SENCO? How did that all go? And I'd be like, half a day course. And he'd laugh his head off and he'd be like, really? I'd be like, half a day SENCO course. Hasn't got a clue. Not a Scooby. But if they want to learn and they've got that eagerness, I'm there for it.
Yeah,
Let's learn. It. But if they're like, oh no, it's just a job, just doing it.
Yeah.
Don't care, then I haven't got the time or energy for that one. Why am I here helping you when you don't Scooby?
You don't want help. You just and it comes to that tick list, doesn't it? Even those trainings, like, I mean, come on, I've been on some of them trainings, they are the most boring. Like, tick, tick, tick. Okay, we've done that. It's not gone in. It's not
very corporate.
It's very corporate, and it's they're not good and
not relatable to real life.
And it's that understanding as well, like that is missing for many. It's missing, but also, let's be honest, the way the media goes and stuff like that, there's still a lot of negativity around whether people even believe it exists, which blows my mind anyway. So and like what you've just, one of the things that you've just said there, so I've had many conversations with many professionals, of course, and I think one of the biggest things that stood out for me, and again, that's what sets us apart as well, because we're trying to support the adults around the children, is like you've just said, for some SENCOs, not only are they deputy head teachers, they're also SENCOs, they also have classes to run. Like, how is that SENCO job in itself is a lot. It's huge.
Full-time role.
Yeah.
And I know it's down to funding and resources and all the sort of things and the makeup of that school, but it is a job on its own and it should not be mixed with anything else in my eyes.
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't work seamlessly otherwise. Like, I've been to a few head teachers recently and they're really boastful and proud. And like, before I came head teacher, we only had 3 EHCPs in this primary school, but now we have 7, and it's like, okay.
But how many of them are you following?
Yeah, I don't care the pieces of paper until you action them. And then it's like, but I've just identified probably another 9 on my way
that you haven't seen
them.
Yeah.
So you're a long way off yet. Yeah. It's great that you're trying to, but that, again, it's like a thing to say, we've done this. It's an Ofsted thing.
Yeah.
We've got more, because they know there's more children with it and we can identify more children and things like that. It's like, we'll see, we're doing our part. You're not. You're really not. Because that isn't, to be able to boast about it.
Yeah. We're inclusive. We're inclusive. We have the coloured paper. We have the dens set up, and we've got the sensory. Yeah, it's just, and again, and again, for some people, I think they actually think that they are. Like, I think they genuinely think, yeah, we're doing the thing, but it isn't.
There is ignorance there. There's no malice a lot of the time. There is a lot of ignorance. But as a parent with a SEN child, don't care. I don't care that you've spent your budget this academic year and my child's still struggling because other children have benefited from it. I don't care. Just sort my child out. I don't care about the other 100 you've got, as much as I'm not an awful person and I hope everyone has a great time at school and is happy and healthy, right now we're in crisis
Yeah.
and I don't care.
Yeah.
That's an
And yeah, and I see like and again, it just comes back to being a normal human being who wants to safeguard children, and every child matters. Like if I'm seeing a child or I'm having a parent come to me and say my child's in crisis, I'm genuinely going to want to help support it, and I'm going to want to fix it. Like how can I step up and do something so this child isn't in crisis? What can I do? Does it mean me taking a little bit more time with them? Does it mean me having a conversation? Does it mean me giving them a hug? Does it mean me letting them just walk off and let them have the time? What does that mean? What does that look
It can
like?
be as simple as moving them away from a
Yeah,
door. It can be as simple as not sitting them near a window, changing your light bulbs in your classroom,
yeah,
just thinking ahead of
yeah,
that's actually quite a bright room.
yeah,
Or that room has no windows, that child's going to feel really enclosed and it's
yeah,
not going to be great. They've got ADHD and they need to feel free.
yeah,
So that room wouldn't be appropriate. It's just about thinking and
yeah.
asking. If you don't know, ask.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things which we're wanting to do, and is training the people so the people sounds
Which
like
way?
just reminded me of Madagascar when they're singing that song, the people take me to the people. But yeah, it's training them so they do understand. So one of the things I want to talk about a positive experience that I had actually that's just come to my mind with one of the SENCOs. So one of my children was struggling for years. For years they were struggling. Now, the SENCO was also their teacher as well. And when I voiced my concerns, they weren't really seeing it, weren't really seeing anything. So I was like, right, okay. Again, as a parent, you start then internalizing, is it just me? And I think we get to a point as a parent where even though we know, even though I've worked in this industry for a very long time, even though we have family members and stuff, and I've worked with kids for years and years and looked after many, even though I know at my core, I then started to think, is it me? Like, am I losing the plot? Am I losing my mind? Is it me? And I actually thought that for a second. And then, anyway, we had a SENCO come in and we spoke about my child and we spoke about masking and things like that. And I absolutely loved what they did because they did some avoidance based work with said child to try and kind of find out what they were struggling with about school. And one of the things that came up was the uniform. So my child will not wear collars, can't stand it, and things like that. And instantly, the minute that they saw that, they went away and said, right, these are the two choices that we can do. Let your child come in a PK because it's comfy, we're fine with that, or let them wear just a basic t-shirt. Yeah. And honestly, that in itself, that one tiny little thing made the massive difference. And my child has then continued to dress like that. And they love that. And that's impacted the whole day. So it can be very small, like you've just said. And that was a really positive experience. And then on from that, I then had other members of staff, which were actually quite shocked that my child had kind of been missed because they could clearly see through their trained eye what was going on. So, yeah. What about you? What about let's look at some positive experiences.
I've worked, like I say, through my previous roles with a lot of Senkos, and I've met some, I always call them Miss Honeys off my
Yeah,
children.
I
My
do.
Miss Honeys. That will, life and limb will go in, they're all, because at the end of the day, education is based on the Education Act and the Children and Families Act, and it is all child-centered and children focused. So that's what we should be doing. So, and they encapsulate that, and they work with the families. And I always do think though, sometimes like, oh, I don't know how you do it all.
Yeah, yeah,
Just take all that home with you because
yeah,
you're so holistic and so giving. And they'll get me in. They're like, how can we help? We've had a really tricky week. This has happened. What can we do? What can we do? Tell me what we can do, and we'll do it.
yeah,
If it's within their means, they will do it. It's not, oh, well, let's just wait and see. It's like, right, okay, let's get that in. Let's get the teachers in. Let's get a meeting done next week and let's work out a plan how we can implement that. Or it's, could you speak to the parents because they don't quite understand what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not saying it in a great way. Could you speak to the parents and try and explain what we're saying? And it's like, yeah, give it a go. Why not? And it's just the effort, the want to help.
Yeah.
It's not sometimes teaching them the A, B's, and C's.
Yeah.
Like she's not a SENCO, she should be though. My children's teacher they had her for 2 years, and she was the best Miss Honey I've ever met. She was amazing. She was just so amazing. I can't even. And my child's school report at the end of the year, it said about that my child had taught her how to be a better teacher because it taught her that it didn't matter. The maths could wait, the English could wait, but until a child was happy and felt safe, it was all irrelevant.
Yeah.
And he taught her a lesson
I love that.
that she could be so much more than educational
Yeah.
because there's so much more to academia.
Yeah. There is.
It's everything else that goes around it. And it was
And
a
the
positive experience for my
Yeah,
child.
that's it. And you see it. And I think this is like what you said. I can't believe you said that because that was my Miss Honey. So my teacher, one of the she literally changed the trajectory of his journey in school. And since he had her, he's been absolutely fine. I always say that she's Miss Honey. I'm like, honestly, the most incredible teacher ever. And I love that. And again, there are many Miss Honeys around, and
Yeah.
we need that, and that's what children need. And what you've just said then, if we look at it in terms of psychology, very, very old now, but if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it says self-actualization is at the top, and in order to do that they need to feel safe, they need to be secure, they need to belong, all of them different things which then get them to that point. So for some children, being in that environment alone, whether it's just the smells, whether it's the textures, whether it's somebody's lunch smells of tuna or whatever it is, can impact their learning. So there's tiny little things that we can do as a collective that don't just benefit that child but benefit every other child in
Yeah.
that
And
school.
that's the thing,
And,
isn't
and
it?
I look at it like a ripple effect, because if you've got children that are struggling and you're willing to help them and help them feel safe and belong, and you're willing to make some changes, that then impacts them, but it also impacts the other learners. It also impacts your working day. It also impacts everybody else. So it's like that's what I think anyway.
But I think it's also so important because, especially in those early years, you've got your preschool and your reception,
Yeah.
and then the key stage one, your child is making their mind up about school,
Mm-hmm.
what they think about school, and their relationship with school. And if they have negative experience after negative experience, they're just going to disengage.
Yeah, they are.
That is their education completely ruined. Their
Mm.
potential is completely diminished, all because nobody understood them.
Yeah.
Nobody cared to understand them.
Yeah.
And then they're coming at you as a teacher saying they're well below expectation, they're below their age expected expectations. What are you going to do about it? You need to do more at home. You need to do this. I disagree with homework,
Yeah.
especially at such a young age. I hate it. Don't ever get my children to do it. It's pointless. Especially saying kids, they've had enough. Let them go home and do whatever they need to do. And it's like, why are you putting it on me?
Mm.
I've been telling you since reception that my child is not happy at school because this is
Mm.
happening when they come home. They've said this to me. You're telling me there's incident after incident. You're struggling with X, Y, and Z. And now they're completely disengaged. The
Mm.
bums are on seats, but the minds aren't there. Or
Yeah.
you might get the more negative behavior because they just want to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like you've just said, then they're making their mind up and about education, and but they're also making their mind up about themselves. And for that child, if we look at this in terms of the belief systems and things like that, for that child who might be the most kindest autistic child in the room, but writes from back to front because they're really struggling with the letters, what's being picked up is the writing and how they've not hit that target. So for that child, not only are they deciding how education is and what they feel like at school, they're also making decisions about themselves, like I'm not clever enough, or I'm stupid, or I'm dumb, or I'm not like my friends. And that grows.
Confidence, self-esteem,
Yeah.
resilience. And without any of those things, that's when we get the shaky foundations
Yeah.
and they go through with you to adulthood. They can take a week to completely knock down a child's resilience, self-esteem, and confidence, but it can take 10 years to build that back up.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's all because you couldn't be bothered or didn't care to learn or didn't want
Mhm.
to listen or just couldn't see.
Yeah. And again as well, like a lot of people will say, and I've said, I mean, I get a lot of stick on social media for things that I say, but I don't really care. And people will say, well, what do you suggest should happen? Or, oh, it's all right for you to say, try being in that class. Yeah, I've been in the classrooms, and yeah, I've worked in education, and yeah, it's hard. And I'm going to be
Yeah, we're
honest.
not saying there's a
No,
quick fix or it's super duper
no,
easy. And it's classroom by classroom because you get a totally different mix of children in each
absolutely.
one. And a teacher massively affects that classroom with their
Yeah.
attitude, their approach to things,
Yeah.
their willingness and things. And then the SENCO in that school will affect how that teacher can
Yeah.
feed things back to the class and what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
So it's a massive knock-on effect. But it, if you working collaborative with the parent, and it's like, I get it, totally get it. That must be really hard. That must be just validate them. That is
Yeah.
awful. Like that must be really challenging. I don't know how you're doing it because that parent's probably running on zero sleep, complete lack of energy, lack of confidence themselves,
Yeah.
and feels they've had no self-care, no mental health days for themselves because they're just constantly on it because there's just too much to do.
Mm.
Just validate them. How can we help?
Yeah.
In an
And that,
ideal world, what could
yeah,
school do?
that is the biggest statement that would make a massive difference. What can we do? What can we put in place? And then let's be honest, we can have them conversations, but then the key is to actually put them things in place and be consistent with them. And I think that is it. That's the biggest thing. And I guess I want it. So I've just gone through one of my modules is probably the favorite one that I've done today. And I went to town on my assignment, and it was the psychology of learning. So interestingly enough, it was how learners learn and the impact that it has on them and all of these different things. And of course, my assignment, I tied it to a neurodivergent, heavy-based classroom.
Oh,
And what I believe they should do to make a difference. So I kind of guess I want to end with that. Like, what changes do we think should be made? However, before we go into that, I want to say one thing, and I want people listening to this to really kind of think about this. If this was a problem that wasn't able to be fixed, and I say fixed because I hate the word fix, but what I mean is, if it was a problem for every single person and nobody could do anything with it because their hands were tied, wouldn't that be the case for every child in every single class who has special educational needs? Why is it there are some teachers and there are some SENCOs and there are some settings and some parents that can facilitate for the needs of that child, and why are there some that are not? That's one question that I want to ask people. Because if it was all around, everybody would be the same. But why are there some Miss Honeys and why are there not, you know?
yeah, this is exactly what I've said to the head teacher at my son's school. Miss Honey showed it could be done.
Yeah.
She did it amazingly. She illustrated it. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
but it nearly killed her off. I'm like, right, so how can you support your Miss Honeys?
Yes.
As a head teacher, as a school, as an academy, how can you support your Miss Honeys?
Yeah.
I can't fix that as a parent.
No.
How can I think there's a lot of onus on parents and teachers in the classroom, but there has to be some onus on the higher ups. And if
Mm.
it's not happening, then what do they need? They need to say,
Yeah.
well,
What do
Papa,
we need?
we need this, and then they need to take that higher. And I know it's not as easy as that, and
Oh, of course.
but I think we just need compassion,
Yeah.
understanding, because it's the ignorance that causes the most damage.
Yeah.
If you're ignorant to it and you don't care to learn and you don't want to learn,
And it's not in your payroll to
and
learn.
that child is with you for a full academic year, you're wasting a full academic year of that
Yeah.
child's life.
And
And
you're
you're,
wasting yours
yeah,
because you're going to get the same every year as long as you're in this role.
yeah, there's always going to be that one child,
Yeah. There's
or
always going
two,
to be,
three, four,
yeah, maybe,
always. So
definitely.
fix it this year, get to grips with what we're doing, and
Make those
really work at
changes.
it, and then the rest of your life will be so much easier in an ideal world. No, it's not.
Yeah, we know this. Like, please don't think it takes time and something might work and then that might not work and then you need to tweak this and you need to tweak this. But like there were certain things, like I remember having a conversation where I said, right, well, why not put this in place? And instantly I was met with, the teacher won't do that. Why will the teacher not do that? Because it'll be too distracting, or it'll impact other children. No, that'll impact all children positively, I'm telling you it will. Yeah, no, they won't do that. Not, I just know them, they won't do that. But that's not about them. It's not about them, it's about the children in the space. It's so I guess with this, let's end on this. So one of the questions that my child asked me, because I was in this, I'm like, right, I'm creating a school. I'm going to create a school and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And one of my children said, what would your school be like? So I'm going to tell you exactly what my school would be like. And of course, there's certain things that you can't do, but I'm talking about my school. So in my school, the first thing that I would do is I would not allow or make my children wear a school uniform. I would allow them to wear clothes that fit and felt comfortable for them. I would go back to more of a Montessori or early years based where they're learning
play therapy.
Play. Yeah, I would do that. I would have the school set up with loads of different things. So, I was talking to one of the head teachers who runs a special educational needs school, and she was saying like they've got climbing frames on the wall and just putting stuff, like that in place. But because all learners don't learn that way, I'd also have rooms where it's more like a school. Was more, so they have the desks and they have that, but that child is able to go through different areas and do that. And again, I'd be mixing the ages together, because when we
all learn it differently. My child's 8, so he's in year 3, but he did the mock sats and passed them and got full marks, so he can learn at a much higher rate. But he's sat there learning about stuff he absolutely already knows about.
Yeah.
And then he gets disruptive. Then,
of course,
issues.
Yeah.
And it's the other way as well. Some children need extra help with phonics.
Yeah.
So why not put them with the younger ones where they need that?
Yeah. Definitely. And again, and I'd be asking, I'd be getting more volunteers like grandparents and things coming in and doing things. Obviously, we know we have to be regulated and we have to make sure they've got DBS and all them different things, but I'd be making it the be all and end all is I'd be making it more of a family community rather than a military operation. And I think obviously when it comes to learning and things like that, it's very different to going into a school where there's 30 children in every single class and there's years and things like that. Of course, you'd have to have more structure and things like that, but obviously I wouldn't have that many in my school. But they'd also have their own personal learning development plan. So even if I think as a teacher, I'd want to know when I've got the children coming in my class, I'd want to know exactly who I've got coming in, what they need, what they don't like, and all of them different things, just like I did when I worked in education myself and planned activities, and make sure that I plan them to meet those needs. Just tiny little things that you can do. Yeah. What about you?
I'd stop shouting. I'd stop scolding.
So basic but impactful.
Punishments to me, I think there's a massive difference between a punishment and a consequence.
Yeah.
Punishment makes an adult feel better. It makes the adult feel like they've done something, they've taught them a lesson, but in actual fact, it achieves very, very little. Other than scares the child, upsets them, dysregulates them, whatever. A consequence is a natural consequence. So I don't want to wear my coat. Right, okay, go outside, and they get cold. That's a natural consequence. A logical consequence is where we're like, well, if you do that, that could happen. And you might feel like, and then it happens. That's a logical consequence. Consequences are fine. Children need boundaries. They need routine. They need to know cause and effect, and that we live in a world where you can't do certain things even if you want to. Yeah. We have to be told no, and we have to respect that. Absolutely. But over the top punishment, shouting, scolding, firm voices, authoritative, absolutely fine. But you're shouting when you're making my child soil themselves in class. because you shouted at them, you've gone a little bit too far. And
Yeah.
you don't realise you have, but then when a parent tells you you have, just understand that you probably have.
Yeah. No, 100%. I get that. I get that. Yeah.
And my child should not be coming home from school going, Mum, I know I'm bad, but I do try to be good. They should never feel like that.
Yeah.
You might have made some poor choices.
Yeah.
You might
Oh,
have done a horrible thing, but you're not horrible.
no.
Not
I
bad.
hate when, and I always say this, so I say this to one of my children, like I will always say, and I'll go over the top on it, but I'll say it. My child's behavior is very challenging at home, but of course it's not at school. Perfect. It's our student. But at home, it's very challenging because they've kept everything in from the day. So I will openly say to my child, when the behavior has got to that level, I will say, I love you very much. You're a brilliant person. You're a good person. You're this, but this behavior is not acceptable. We're not having this. You cannot do that. This is not acceptable. And I hate nothing more than when a child is told they're bad, they're naughty, they're this, that, because they internalize that. They don't see it as the behavior, the thing. They see it as them as a
It
whole.
comes
And
in
that,
a voice.
yeah. And that is not, no, it's not good.
Abusive.
Definitely.
Somebody told me I was horrible and bad every single day of my life.
Yeah.
Wowzers. Be emotional abuse.
Definitely. So anyway, we had a lot to say on this again, as always. And again, just want to finish with, remember, we are not here to bash. We're here to talk about experiences, conversations, the things that we have, what we think needs to change. And yeah, that is everything. So if you have any questions or you want to see something that we haven't covered on here, then we do have a form. So if you click the link below, you've got all our details so that you can ask anything that you want. And don't forget to pass this on to anyone else that would benefit.
Yeah, and like and subscribe.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.